I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic, a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
You're listening to Let Him Cook. I'm Dylan Coon, joined by always Nigel Dyson. We're coming at you from the Northwest Bank Studios. We have finally started college basketball season. Day 2 as we record, day 3 tomorrow. Not too many big games last night. A lot of these are, you're going to see a lot of crazy scores this first week at least of college basketball. Iowa State no different, but we will jump into that. First, Nigel, we got to talk about your hat. Game 7 was so good that I even watched a baseball game. For people that know me, I'm not really a baseball guy. That was a hell of a baseball game, and I was glued to the television. We turned to the baseball game at like the 8th inning, Game 7. Your Dodgers, man, that was an all-timer. That was just a great game.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, it says a lot to be able to captivate even fans that don't like baseball to watch baseball. If there was definitely a game that no matter what your level of care was on should I watch it, should I not, I think that was a game everyone should have been tapped into. But it was definitely one of the best game I've watched in my life. I had to reluctantly the Chicago Cubs Game 7 against the Indians, I think 9 years ago. That was quite the Game 7 too, but I just didn't have as much heroics like from a play-by-play kind of aspect where it took so much and such a well-rounded, like when you look back at this whole series, really well-rounded like team effort. It took everyone to get to the across the finish line. And obviously shout out to the Blue Jays, but the Drake curse lives on. I mean, when will the guy learn? Shut up. Stop talking about teams because you're only doing them a disjustice. And you don't talk crap about the second coming of Babe Ruth, like in any form. I don't know how you don't expect not only his teammates to respond, but also him to respond. And obviously just to see the performances that people put out in those 7 games from both teams, it was really special. And obviously I was glad that we got to ruin baseball.
I didn't think about not only did Toronto lose the rat beef between Kendrick and Drake, they also lost the World Series between the same 2 cities. It's been a tough couple years there in Toronto.
Funny how that works out, huh? Yeah, it's a double entendre. No, actually, I do have a quick theory. I'm glad you brought that up. I think the whole Drake Kendrick beef. I personally believe the reason why Drake even opened his mouth about this discourse was simply because he didn't feel verbally or physically or spiritually like he won anything in that dispute. So this was going to be like a small victory in his mind to kind of get a one-up on Kendrick, maybe drop a few weak tracks on unreleased music, and there's going to be a few entendres on LA and Toronto over LA. It was all performative. The guy didn't watch any of the 162 regular season games. Right. Wants to show up for the World Series, iced out. Brother, you're 40, start a family. End of story. Okay, I've had enough of that guy. Please.
Yeah. The last time he dropped a good diss track, and this is one of my only ideas of Toronto Blue Jays baseball, like the cover of Back to Back, that song is like I don't even know who the player is, but some Toronto Blue Jay hitting a walk-off in the World Series. Yeah. And that was like the cover of Back to Back. Really, Drake hasn't released a good diss track since then, and then just got bodied, postered, Kodak moment, Kendrick Lamar to the Super Bowl, just obliterated.
He's had a rough year.
Yeah.
And then ESPN takes that same graphic of the back-to-back font and puts it over the Dodgers winning the World Series.
Brutal.
Who told them to do that? I mean,
Rude.
clearly, someone's a Kendrick fan over there, and I'm all here for it. So, but enough about baseball. This is a basketball podcast. Thank you for giving me my flowers, though. I appreciate it.
You bet. And you're damn right it is. I am one night removed from what I was thinking about this. I think Hilton Coliseum is probably my favorite building on earth. I was like trying to think of like what else I would put up there. I can't think of a number two. There's something about Hilton Coliseum. As much as I love Jack Trice Stadium, there is just like, I love how fucking like scary it looks, how intimidating it looks. It just looks like a bomb shelter. And I like just with TJ style basketball, it just feels like you know what you're getting into, especially when it's like December, January. It's just cold as hell outside. I love being back in Hilton. Atmosphere is good. I mean, it's Fairleigh Dickinson at the end of the day. It's not like you're going to sell out a season opener to Fairleigh Dickinson, but a really good game. And I think this conversation has to start with Tamin Lipsey. I tweeted out yesterday. Rothstein announced that he was cleared to play. And I was like, even if he like, it's great that he's to that point, but like we wouldn't have needed Tamin Lipsey to beat Fairleigh Dickinson. And, you know, if he needs to rest just so he's healthy for Mississippi State, then I think that's what the team should do. After his performance last night, he looked 100%. He was flying all over the place. He was just doing Tamin Lipsey things. It feels like he had a half dozen steals at the top of the key, just like a breakaway steal. Give me that layup on the other end. Just like, you know, vintage Tamin Lipsey. So to me, it looks like whatever that ACL strain was, that hopefully is a thing of the past. Just the way he plays too. It's just like you can't tell Tamin Lipsey to go 90%. He plays at 110. He's going to be diving after loose balls. He's seeking out contact. But I think he just played a really good game. And those exhibition games, it just felt like at times the offense was out of kind of pace or there was just something missing. And I think what was missing was Tamin Lipsey.
Yeah, no, and obviously you talk about pace and whatnot. I think they were missing just a bit more of composure that he naturally carries on a day-to-day basis. And I think kind of his calm energy is good for, you know, our starting five and really the rest of the team. To see someone that kind of who's been through the fire and can kind of remain in that even keel spirit that Tamin holds, I think really is a difference maker for us. Obviously, like you said, it's FDU. This won't be the best team we play all year, and we know that. But it still is nice just to see us at full strength. You know what we can look like. Obviously, the ceiling with him is a lot higher than it was in our exhibition games. And, you know, it gives obviously people opportunity to know, you know, if you're a young freshman guard, whether you're Bateman, whether you're Killian, I mean, like those guys can kind of intertwine and maybe, you know, try to fight for that secondary spot, knowing that he's back and he's back to his old self. But no, really impressed overall with his first game back, and to not get any, you know, exhibition run and to kind of respond like nothing really happened is awesome. But I know Tamin's also been through like ACL tears in high school. And I know sports science is only getting better. So I think the more proactive you are for those knee injuries, the easier it is to come back with the right amount of rest. So I'm just glad to see he's back and looks pretty healthy to me.
Yeah. And then I think the other player you got to spotlight after last night's game is Milan Momcilovic, 7 for 10 from 3, career high, 29 points. And he had a couple, I call them Deontay Burton moments, where as a fan, I'm like, what are you, like, no, don't shoot that. What are you doing? And then just drains it. And you're like, okay, I'll shut up. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, didn't know that was going to go in. He had a couple just like kind of off balance running threes that I was just like, what are we doing? And then he drew them. And I mean, he spoke about that coming into the season. That's what he's kind of been practicing on the off season. It's not so much the catch and shoot, but the off balance or the kind of transition take three. So, I mean, he just looks super comfortable. And TJ said, you know, shout out to John Walters and Eric Heft on the post game show. Love listening to that on the car ride home from Hilton. But, you know, it's just like he gets a couple of those mid-range shots in. And I'm glad he's still shooting those, because like just the footwork is too good for him to go away from some of those mid-range shots. And once he sees a couple of them go in, I think it just kind of opens him up on the perimeter to be able to shoot with confidence. And he had a whole bunch of confidence. 70% from 3 is nasty. 29 points. I mean, he was hunting and he was shooting.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think, I'm glad to know that he has been practicing, those unorthodox shots, because at the end of the day, he has an unorthodox playing style. Like, you're going to have to take some shots like that. And people are tuned into you in a scouting report. They know you're one of our better shooters. And they know that you have an unorthodox way of shooting. So I think some people try to kind of play more of an angle game with Milan more than like a contesting kind of a defense. And I think, to work on the ability to kind of hit off balance shots, it's like the Dirk effect in a sense, where at some point you're going to get so good at that to where you're looking like how Dirk was looking in the 2011 finals, where it didn't matter who you put in front of him. He's still going to get his shots off. He's still going to get his. And I think that's definitely the jump TJ has mentioned that he wants Milan to take this year. So I think, having that kind of green light in a sense that has kind of advanced over time, from freshman to sophomore to junior year now. I think it's always exciting to see kind of that sophomore to junior year jump in like what you see to be those 4-year guys usually. And I think you're seeing it right now, obviously, despite it being the opponent. I think sometimes the thing with Milan is in the past is people are like, well, are we going to consistently see this? I think that's what you work on, and I think the only way to consistently see this is to make yourself uncomfortable and push your game to different limits that it hasn't seen before. So it's not always going to be, like you said, easy, comfortable catch and shoot threes, especially the more your role increases in the program. But to see, kind of just the aggressiveness that I saw yesterday was definitely an eye opener. And I'm excited to see kind of where his ceiling can go long term.
And totally agree. Just a couple surprises from last night. Killian Toure started. I think Nate Heisey really is going to be kind of in that Curtis Jones role where he's going to play probably the minutes of a starter, and it wouldn't surprise me in the final 2 minutes or kind of winning clutch time that Heisey is out there and not Toure. But to see Toure start, I saw somewhere that he's only like the 26th, I think, true freshman to start a season opener. So that's just something that typically doesn't happen that often at Iowa State. And played really well. He reminds me a lot of Tamin Lipsey, like freshman Tamin Lipsey, where it's just like he's going to be an agitator. He's looking for steals. It seems like the game isn't too fast for him. Like he looked good. He was running some actions off the top of the key, made a 3-point shot, and that was something that we didn't really think was going to be one of his features coming into the game. And then the other surprise, and he was in foul trouble, I just thought Blake Buchanan would play a little bit more. I think he's going to be carrying a pretty large responsibility as a post player this year for Iowa State, and played maybe 23, 25 minutes, had a couple early fouls that I think probably sidelined him longer than TJ might have wanted. But besides that, again, we're talking about Fairleigh Dickinson here, Nigel. We could nitpick. We didn't. They had more can change points than Iowa State did, and then just like kind of silly. Like I think they beat us on a baseline out of bounds play on the same play twice, just like a simple screen to screener, and it was just a wide open layup. Same play 2 times in a row, but again, that is such a small thing. At one point, Milan Momcilovic had 21 points when Fairleigh Dickinson had 21 points as a team. So that kind of tells you what happened in this game. I mean, he got off to such a hot start. Iowa State was up by 20 in a hurry, and then it was just kind of curtains.
Yeah, no, and I didn't even realize this, but personally, I played Joey Niesman in high school, number 0 for Fairleigh Dickinson. So throwback there. I didn't know last time I had seen him or kind of talked to him, he was playing junior college. So I didn't even know he was on the court there. But yeah, Oswego, Illinois, small world.
A lot of talent coming out of your part of Illinois. It's just crazy. Like Central Iowa, you're going to get a D1 guy maybe like once every 2 or 3 years that is actually playing at a big time school. Fairleigh Dickinson's not that, but it is. I feel like you can say that about just about. Feels like 25% of the teams probably have someone from the greater Chicago area.
Oh yeah, it put it in perspective. It's like I think it's like 6 hours both way. If you want to go north to south through Illinois or east to west through Illinois, like it's going to take you about a clean 6 hours. So I mean, it's a big state. I know Iowa has less to pick from, but I guess it kind of makes you guys a tad bit more iconic when you guys do have those star-studded players. Because sometimes you forget about people from Chicago because they were so good, and then like they kind of fell off. Or I don't think anyone's ever going to forget about like a Caitlin Clark or Ashley Jones or people who are homebred like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just one last thing on Tamin Lipsey. It is such a cool thing to like. I mean, I covered him when he was a high school senior at Ames, and just like what blew me away when he was a senior, high school basketball. I think it now does have a shot clock in Iowa, but when he was at Ames, it didn't. And just his way to manipulate a defense, and you saw some of that last night. And you've seen that in years before, where he will just dribble and hunt and kind of wait until the moment to strike, and then boom, 2 points or open guy in the corner, or he comes flying down a screen and then the lane's wide open. He's so patient. He just can really, that's what a point guard does, orchestrate the offense. Man, if he's healthy, I really think, especially, I keep talking about like no Keyshawn and Curtis, someone's going to have to step up. Tamin had 18 points last night. I think he could easily fill into more of a scoring role for Iowa State this year and really kind of help offense and defense. He's known for his defense. I think has a chance to probably be Defensive Player of the Year in the country. Some other Big 12 guys that might have something to say about that. But, man, if he looks like he did last night, got to take opponent ability into consideration. But Tamin looked really good last night.
No, for sure. And obviously this team's going to kind of start and finish with Milan and Tamin going forward. So I think they got to get used to that. I think no matter the opponent, being able to still be you in those moments is going to be huge, and not be kind of like a victim of the situation, and kind of make, the other opponent, regardless of who it is, still kind of feel you and feel your impact on the floor is going to be really important. So it was good to see that early. And obviously I hope we can just continue that momentum going into Grambling.
One thing I want to shout out, just talking about some Big 12 games last night, Arizona played Florida, BYU played Villanova, both on TNT. I think TNT is going to do a really good job with college basketball. Really, the only time they do it in the past was March Madness. They've been doing NBA basketball for decades. But like the way they promote the Big 12, you just didn't really see that from ESPN, because ESPN just kind of has the rights to everybody. But like, the Big 12 is TNT's brand, and they're going to try to make the Big 12 feel like as big of a deal as it is. And I think they're just going to do a great job spotlighting. They have great camera work, great production, put 2 really good games on last night. And the games are great by themselves. Nigel, I'm guessing those are kind of the 2 Big 12 games that stood out. Basically, everybody else played an opponent similar to a Fairleigh Dickinson outside of those 2 Big 12 teams. What did you kind of take away from either of those games?
I took away, those are teams we're going to see later on in the year. So let me watch some film early. I know a lot of highly touted freshmen coming into college basketball this year nationwide. So anyone, especially in our conference, that I could get an eye on in a big game that isn't an FDU, I definitely wanted to be able to try to see. I know Koa Pent was kind of more of like the Cameron Boozer build. So I was very excited to kind of, see what, he was going to bring to Arizona, because Arizona kind of left me in a question mark state last year after they lost so many guys, Carter Bryant, Caleb Love, those dudes. I believe they even lost their big skinny guy to North Carolina. Forgot his name. Yeah. The lanky white guy.
Virsar.
Yeah, he was foreign. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. But yeah, no, they lost a lot of pieces. So I was curious to see kind of what they look like. I know BYU gained a lot of pieces despite being pretty solid last year. So I wanted to see what they look like. So a lot of incentive in obviously, being able to watch those 2 games. Wanted to also get a look at Florida here to see if they were able to defend the title. And it seems a little harder, easier said than done, I guess. But really, obviously, really 2 solid games that I saw yesterday. But definitely was really impressed with Arizona and what I saw out of Koa Pent for sure.
Yeah, I was talking to you earlier today. I like the trio of guards that Florida lost. Really the only other like trio of guards that good in recent memory is Baylor when they had Teague and Butler and Mitchell. And
Yeah.
Florida's kind of the same thing. It's like that team. I know like Alex Condon is a really good forward and he's All-American watch, but like Florida was so guard dominant, and to lose all three of those guys, and I know they bring in Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee, and I'm a sicko that actually paid attention to some Ivy League basketball last year. Xavier Lee had a pretty disappointing year at Princeton, and when all this kind of hype of him coming to Florida being such a big, I was like, I don't really know if he wants that SEC, especially once conference play starts. Like those are two kind of smaller body guards. And like those guards last year at Florida were grown ass men. Like they were like Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin. Like those guys had been around the block. They had been through different schools. Like, I mean, they had been through the ringer. And Florida's going to have to figure something out because Arizona's a good team. But I mean, obviously Florida the favorite to win that. And then BYU, Nigel, as much as I hate to admit it, that team's really good. That team is going to be a problem. Rob Wright looked really good. I mean, he's worth all of whatever the NIL money that they brought to him. Debansa looked great. And then Kluba Kita, that guy is just everything I love about a basketball player.
How old is he? 36? How many kids does he have? 4?
I was saying he reminds me
How much
of
is his mortgage?
He looks like he could be David Robinson's brother. He
looks like he's David Robinson. Like
yeah, exactly.
He looks like he just came straight from an army workout, right? And just suited up for the Mormons, and now is 22. Like, no, see, I need to see his passport right now. That is crazy. He is way too big.
Moves way too well for how big he is. Blocking shots, like just a unit. I mean, that guy is built like a brick shit house. He's going to be a problem. I like looking at Iowa State's lineup. I don't really see. I mean,
Aiden said allegedly born January 9th, 2003. Okay. And I guess I have, you might as well call me a ginger since we're just saying shit.
Right.
Google. God, that is crazy. 2003.
If he's 22, I'm 17 years old, Nigel. That's what I'll say about that. But yeah, BYU is going to be really good. And then really the only other takeaway, Baylor and Houston struggled a little. It's so early that it's hard to even really hold a team accountable for something like that. What I will quickly hold a team accountable for is TCU losing to New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's pretty inexcusable. New Orleans is not a good team. They are probably going to be below the 300 line in Ken Palm. I believe that was on TCU's home court. I don't know where else that game would be played. That is a tough way to start the season for the TCU Horned Frogs. And maybe it is like a tale of things to come. I think the Big 12 is going to be really good. There's going to be some teams that struggle. A lot of these teams, just because of how college basketball is, you lose more than what you can bring in. The portal is not created equal for everybody. Like it's just hard to replace as many pieces as you're losing for some of these teams at the bottom of the Big 12. So there might be some bumps in the road for some of these teams near the bottom of the conference, and losing to New Orleans that's a tough one.
Well, and the more you lose, I mean, the better you do, the more you lose. Right. Because naturally, people are going to go to, if you say you win the national championship, people are going to go to the league. That's inevitable. But and also say you go to the Sweet 16. So if you could end your season in the Sweet 16, or you could end your season in a Final Four loss. It doesn't matter. All of those remaining teams are either going to be highly disrupted by either the portal or obviously the league. And the way both are paying right now, it's very understandable as to why that is. But it's fascinating to see just publicity in general, no matter what it is going to get people to move around. And obviously a lot of guys are taking advantage of it. I don't think Xavier Lee needs to leave Princeton because they made March Madness before. They beat Arizona a few years ago. And they had a really solid a lot of guys from that team, because they're real money at these bigger schools, leaving that opportunity to maybe have a lesser role, maybe have a more watered down version of themselves. I think Xavier Lee, the things he was able to do at Princeton, I saw the vision in him coming to Florida. I got why they wanted to reach out and try to get him, but it's crazy to see kind of not the fall off, but just kind of the dimming of one's light someone has to do when you get to this bigger level. Like it's funny, we're talking about Lee. Jack Scott, who was on that Princeton team that beat Arizona and got meaningful minutes, is now the 15th man on Duke's roster.
Right.
And there's only one reason why he left, and it was because they're willing to give him some cash to be a grad student. Like it's a no-brainer, you know. Why would I not have grad school paid for? You know, and then I you know, for the Ivy Leagues, you know, to see all of this going on, I still don't think they're able to give out athletic scholarships. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of how they've always been. It's a really dated rule that you're, you know, kind of reasoning only with tradition. It's stupid. So again, it's another reason in sports. It's another example in sports where it's the adapt or die. And obviously people are adapting to new rules. So it's probably going to take some time long term for people to really get acclimated on these new teams and these new environments with these new coaches. But I you know, despite the loss from Florida, I will say they are up there with Duke in a sense of having some of the tougher schedules, because their Thanksgiving is going to be not the biggest week of the year. Like they have a challenge almost every week, and Florida and Duke play each other in Cameron on the first week of December. So very excited to see kind of the teams that are kind of going towards what I've been pushing Iowa State to do, and they are doing it, but, you know, playing those more intense out of conference schedules. I'm really excited to see how those pan out for those teams. And if they're successful, I can only imagine more teams are going to want to do that, because they're going to see the benefit that it could do your team going forward.
I was watching BYU Villanova last night after I got home, and I don't remember who the commentator was, but it's like there could be 3 freshmen on the All-American first team this year. Yeah. And it has been a while. I mean, I think there's something to be said about NIL kind of recapturing, you know, these top NBA prospects. Like there was kind of a window there where a lot of these guys were going to the G League. You think about someone like Jalen Green, like I would guess he would be playing a year at Duke or Kansas or BYU. Like
he was going to go to Auburn. So could you imagine?
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's just kind of the reality that, you know, some guys are leaving the G League to play in college now. Like we've gone full reversal on that. So the freshmen are back.
Buzelis, who's going to be the franchise player for the Bulls, he was going to go to either Florida State, Wake Forest, or North Carolina. Yeah. Imagine.
Right.
Imagine had that Caleb Love and Modest Buzelis. I don't want to see that any day in my dreams.
Yeah, as a Duke fan, I'm sure you're happy that didn't happen. But, you know, Duke has one of those guys, you know, that could be an All-American this year. Yeah. And then DeBonta last night, Darren Peterson had a great night, opening night at Kansas, 23 points in 21 minutes or something absurd like that.
Which people weren't high on him. And I was like, what? Have you seen the clips? He's a dude.
He could start on multiple NBA teams this year.
He could go start for the Wizards tomorrow. Like,
right.
You need to see the vision, please.
I mean, is there a realistic? It's hard to call this early in the season, but I mean, I'm guessing the first 5 picks in the NBA are all going to be college freshmen. Like it's been a while, and Americans at that. Like I don't know what kind of the overseas prospects look like this year, but you're going to see Boozer, DeBonta, Peterson. Tennessee has a kid.
Nate Met. Yeah.
So there's guys kind of across the country that these star-studded freshmen are kind of back into college basketball ranks. That to me, it feels like a good thing for college basketball.
Yeah, no, but because I forgot about Met, so good call there. I think there's a possibility. There's a universe where that happens, right? 4 top 5 picks are freshmen.
Oh, Pete might be one of those guys too.
And that was the 5th option I was thinking about. But I also think I know GMs and I know how people are in the draft. There's always a Tingus Pingus pick, as people remember. In a loaded draft class, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be a European that cracks the top 5. So you're definitely not wrong. And I think 3 of those could be from the Big 12, which is just really telling of kind of what kind of era we're in for being such an old league. The first 5 years of this decade to now going into the last decade, you know, is this kind of a telling tale of what's to come in the Big 12? Is we're going to be more freshman dominated because we have money to play around with more as a conference. And what problems is that going to bring Iowa State? You know, long term, there's a lot of questions to be asked on, you know, highly touted freshmen coming to the Big 12. What can that do for the brand in an era of college basketball where you can actually get paid to bring that talent in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Houston's got a couple of, I think they have 2 starters, or maybe just one. I know Chris Sinak starts for them, but I mean, yeah, it's all over the Big 12. You see these top 10, top 20 ESPN recruits coming to the Big 12 now. I mean, Nigel, I will like message you anytime that like a top recruit doesn't pick a Big 12 team. I'm like, thank God. I'm like, go anywhere else. Go to the ACC, go to the SEC, go to the Big 10. Just like, I don't want these guys to be Iowa State's problem in the coming years.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's exciting to see, you know, like you said, us to continue to bring in the talent. But obviously the more people that stay away, the better. But again, I like when people can kind of come into, you know, our conference and make each game for us individually as Iowa State fans, you know, a bit bigger. Because I know we kind of get a little tired of those older teams and having to just get into a rock fight every week. I mean, I think it does a lot on our bodies. And, you know, I think it's kind of exciting for us to finally be the older team with, you know, kind of not a ragtag bunch, but just kind of people who are still trying to prove themselves in college basketball, you know, giving them the opportunity to be able to take down players that people are naturally going to tune into and watch. I think it's really good for the conference. And I think I can only hope it continues to happen more, because the more money the Big 12 gets, the more money Iowa State gets, and hopefully at some point we can get, you know, more Omaha Blues and, you know, Koa Pete Pence and whatnot, and goes on and on. So I think it's really good for the conference, and I can only hope that it continues to grow from here.
Shout out Omaha Blue, had 5 points, played 26 minutes for Wake Forest. So I think he is going to be kind of a staple on that ACC team. And I really do wish him the best. He was so fun to watch at Waukee. Like only had good interactions with him in the limited ones I did. So I really hope I don't remember there was a Cyclone account on Twitter that kind of tweeted out like what Noyes and Jositis did, and Demarion Watson and Omaha Blue, some of these guys that have transferred outside of the program, Deshaun Jackson. It's just cool to kind of keep up with those guys, and you do wish them the best around the country. Nigel, we have, like you said, Grambling State, just like a quick thing. And, you know, even the sicko in me, I can't really tell you a whole lot about Grambling State. TJ said that they're tall at every position. They're big at every position. Their guards are 6'3", 6'4". They got, you know, big, burly post players. So rebounding comes to mind. I mean, like, you can't get beat on the glass, second chance points. One of these stats that I do like to watch in games like Fairleigh Dickinson and Grambling State, a lot of these teams have sometimes more turnovers than made field goals. That's just a fun one to keep track of. And then also the classic one is like, will one of your players be beating? That's kind of like the 2K, like when you're making a player, like your player can outscore the other team. Sometimes you get like weird stats like that in these games. But with TJ's defense, a lot of these teams turn the ball over more than they make shots as a team. And that is just a wild thing to kind of wrap your head around. But the big game in Mississippi State, I looked it up, haven't played a game yet. Their first game is Wednesday. That's kind of the first test for Iowa State. And you look at a guy like Josh Hubbard. I was kind of looking at the roster. For an avid college basketball fan, you might recognize Deontay Epps. He was a good guard at Georgetown last year. He's kind of transferred around a little bit. Acor, if that name sounds familiar, he was at Kansas State and then was dismissed from the team almost like on the verge of the college basketball season last year. And there were students that were like protesting to bring him back. And it was a weird situation down there in Manhattan for Jerome Tang. So, but he is now on Mississippi State's team. They have another transfer from Arizona State that Iowa State played last year. So there are some familiar faces. They lost a lot. Mississippi State was a good team last year, but this is kind of a new look for them outside of Josh Hubbard, who could be kind of a first team, second team SEC guard. I mean, and they only have one game before Iowa State. So this is going to be an early test for both of these teams. And Mississippi State, also a defensive minded team. I like Ole Miss and Mississippi State are a very similar kind of built team. It's guys that are 21, 22, 23 years old, really big and athletic and really good at defense. And I think that would just be a good test for Iowa State to kind of see where they are in terms of physicality.
Yeah, no, and I think as much as you want to play, like I said, those more exciting younger teams with the highly touted freshmen, it's very important to run into teams like this, those teams that can be 8, 9 seeds in the tournament.
Yeah.
You don't, and it's like those are the hardest teams. If you don't schedule them in your season, it's like you don't know anything about them, and those are the teams that can come get you. I think that's personally what happened to us when we played Ole Miss. So it's, again, I think we're learning from our mistakes, and we're almost simulating what could come. Obviously later on in the year. So I'm glad that we're again playing more, avid and kind of normal tournament level talent on top of kind of the cupcake games that we run into from here and there. One thing I do want to point out about like teams like Grambling, it doesn't matter. We always play some niche HBCU or some smaller school at the beginning of the year. And it's always funny to see like the game's out of reach at some point, but you can tell within the other team, like, the dynamic of that team, like even in a game where it's 36-75 Iowa State, like the guy on the other team, you still get to tell who's the alpha by the hero shots he starts to take. And I want people to try to pay attention to see if you can kind of find those players on each kind of crappy team, no offense, that we run into this year. Because it's always like fast. I think that's how boring the games are. Personally, to me, they're not stimulating enough to where I start trying to dissect the dynamics of the other team, right, and wonder what their locker room sounds like right now, and whatnot. But obviously they're like band-aids. You got to just rip them off, get them over with, and you look forward more to a lot of these games like Mississippi State, like St. John's, like Purdue. But I just want to make sure we're playing Cyclone basketball. The screws are tightens for those games. So hopefully we're ready and locked and loaded after this week to take on a tough Bulldog team.
Yeah, Fairleigh Dickinson had a guy shot 3 for 14 from 3 last night, but he was getting them up. Them up, shoot those shots.
And I get it, man. You want to transfer next year. Like, it's great to have Iowa State tape on the film. I get it. I see the vision. I see it, So I get your paper, bro. Like, get them up. I don't think there's going to be too many times where you have in football when NIU beat Notre Dame and someone is giving you $1 million and a win in one weekend. So definitely, you want to get your opportunities, you can get them. You're already getting paid to come here. Might as well get this tape in too.
Yeah. And it is to some degree, like you look at some of the gyms that these teams are playing in, and it's not like Hilton Coliseum was at full strength last night, but just the opportunity to play somewhere like Hilton Coliseum, Mackey Arena, Allen Fieldhouse, some of these like kind of, these guys are college basketball fans too. They grew up watching college basketball. To play in some of those venues, I'm sure it is a cool experience because once the conference season starts, there's not a lot of 14,000, 15,000 seat stadiums that Fairleigh Dickinson is going to be playing in.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And again, I think if you're going to try to make the tournament, you're going to have to at some point play a team like that. So why not get used to it now? But definitely don't want to overlook people like Grambling, like FDU, and other like teams we have to play this year, like Long Beach State. Just obviously take every game as an opportunity to get better, and obviously, hopefully, we can get a lot better from FDU, even though we saw a lot of good things.
Nigel, this is kind of a shorter podcast for us right now, but just kind of any general thoughts on the state of college basketball as we start the season. One thing I will say, I mean, we just discovered it literally right before we started this podcast, is like, if Iowa State's playing on an ESPN, I have YouTube TV, we're in the dark, brother. I have ESPN Plus, I have YouTube TV. Somehow those two things combined mean I still can't watch a basketball game on ESPN. What are we doing? What? Huh? Make an agreement. Let me watch basketball. This is my favorite time of the year, and I can't even watch what I want to watch. This is dreadful.
That's going to be a problem. I'm watching the score of Texas Duke back and forth, and I'm like, what am I, a third grader? This is right. I deserve more than this.
Am I in study hall? What's going on?
Yeah. I enough is enough. This is America. This is the problem with capitalism. You guys pushed it on us for years. Everyone confided and acted like it was the best thing in our interest. And now look at us. We can't watch games. So we can't watch guys play with a ball. They want you to pay for that. level. You cannot watch guys play with an orange ball because you're not paying $11.99. Who $11.99 for any utility in your house? My point exactly. It's unreal. I don't know when the madness is going to stop. I think it's a big bidding war right now that is behind curtains between a lot of billionaires trying to get rights to everything.
Right.
And I think you're seeing it on the NBA level with, the NBC, ABC, kind of snatching TNT's chain. And then I think even Amazon's trying to infiltrate, trying to take NBC's chain in making their own kind of NBA network, NBA TV type of environment. And look, I love that Amazon is using their resources. I just think the finalized product, if they were able to create an environment where they had everything, I think it would be an unaffordable cost for the average person making an average living. So I don't want people who have $1 billion to get crazy out here. As maddening as that sounds, chill out. Let your everyday fans, who are probably the best versions of a fan, be able to afford to watch the game. Because last time I checked, basketball is not golf. It's not this high yuppie sport where it's exclusive. In fact, most of the people playing are people of color. So I would hope that, people would be able to see those individuals who have most of the time come from nothing and be able to put on and inspire the next generation. So many basketball players were able to do that for me only because the games were free. I wasn't subscribed to TNT or Chicago Comcast, Sportsnet. And now I can't even watch Bulls games anymore because you need an antenna. And it's like, why would I pay for an antenna to watch a 10 seed play every year? Like, come on, bro. It's unreal. And I don't know when it's going to stop. People are going to have to really start rebelling against the masses. So I don't know. It's tough because I really want to watch this game, but I got to also have a spine too, I guess.
Yeah, if you look at just like the TV schedule that Iowa State plays on, it's like you're going to have ESPN Plus games in the non-conference. ESPN, once the Big 12 season starts, we have a share of TNT games. So you're going to need cable or YouTube TV in some capacity. HBO has a partnership with TNT. We're on Peacock for a couple of conference games. You already, like, on entry, need 3 different streaming services to watch your favorite team. It's just stupid. And
you're making enough money, bro. Like, if you have a game on ESPN, just play the game.
Yeah.
Like, are we not paying monthly fees already? Yeah. Am I going crazy?
You're preaching to the choir over here, Nigel. I'm fed up. I really thought most of these kind of YouTube TV, ESPN, or it's ESPN versus anybody that Disney doesn't own. But most of these agreements come to pass in a day or two, and the big suits at the top figure this stuff out. This is one of the longer ones I can remember. And again, it's like on the verge of college basketball season. Like, I couldn't have done this in July. Like, what are we, like, this is when we're deciding to have this disagreement. It just sucks. It sucks for the average college fan.
That stupid week in August where there's nothing.
Literally nothing going on. Like,
I'm just watching Pat McAfee with his shirt off and no socks on talk. And I'm like, y'all can't figure it out now? Can we get this chunky white guy off my screen? Can you figure out the TV dispute now? Come on, man. I'm tired of it. And so should you all. Whoever's listening to this podcast, just turn off ESPN until they figure this out. And even then, it's like, I figure out what, like, who's gonna own everything so they can charge more. Like, I don't know who wins. I don't know if we'll ever win as fans. So, it's tough. And obviously, I hope things can get better. But it's unfortunate, man. What happened to the game I love?
The game's gone. The game's gone. At some point, this is going to come full circle. All the streaming services are going to be provided under one thing, and it's going to be called cable. And then we're literally just like...
Yeah, we're back in 2007.
What did we do?
It was a big social experiment. We got you. Okay. F you guys, I guess. Yeah. Like, F me, I guess. Everyone wants to play with Nigel. That says everyone gets fun. Everyone gets a fun little time out of that, man. Whatever.
Nigel, what do we got for the score of that Duke game? I'm cheering for Duke, and I think probably most Cyclone fans are tonight just because of the distaste for Texas.
Yeah, we got 7-11 left in the first half, and it is 26-20 Duke. Heard Isaiah Evans got pretty hot early on, so hopefully they can ride that out. but we'll see.
Go Dookie Blue Devils. I don't have a whole lot of passing shots. By this time next week, we will have Grambling State and Mississippi State under our belts. A Power 5 opponent, and probably have more to break down. I mean, that really is the first litmus test for this Iowa State team.
Yeah, and we were in the same spot last year where we didn't have much to talk about in these episodes. So I'm anticipating, obviously, next week it's going to beef up, and by Feast Week, we might be really full, and literally and figuratively. So looking forward to it. It should be an exciting next few weeks here.
Go Cyclones! Let them cook.
Horns down.
I didn't get it up in time.